Welcome to Keys to the Future. I'm your host, Gabby Coe. I've enjoyed a successful engineering career and want to inspire you to remain focused on your STEM education and career. Join me as I chat with amazing guests who are shaping the future and sharing their journeys to inspire yours. Ready to unlock your potential? Let's dive in. Our guest today is Darnell Dixon, an accomplished electrical engineer with over 15 years of experience and contributions to more than 100 space missions. Passionate about aerospace engineering, he has worked on groundbreaking projects pushing the boundaries of space exploration. As a dedicated STEM advocate, Darnell promotes diversity through initiatives at historically Black colleges and universities, mentors students, and inspires future engineers. He holds a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from Virginia State University and a master's in engineering management from the George Washington University. Darnell, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your passion and expertise with the Keys to the Future community.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So you are passionate about aerospace engineering and have supported over 100 missions to the International Space Station. So can you please share a little bit about yourself and what led you to a career in electrical engineering? And I want to hear more about the space missions too.
Yes. So again, I'm Darnell Dixon. I'm a graduate of the Virginia State University. Born in Anchorage, Alaska. My dad was in the Army. So my family traveled around a lot as a child. I attended elementary school in Baumholder, Germany. My dad retired in Virginia. I then finished high school in Dinwiddie, Virginia. Originally, my passion, I'm an automobile enthusiast. So my first passion was I wanted to own car dealerships. But as I didn't know if that was really the route to go, when I was looking at school, as a child, I was known to get toys, break them, try to figure out how they worked. When I used to detail my mom's car a lot, so I would always like open the hood, tinker with stuff, not really tinker, but like try to figure out like how engines worked, and then read about cars and suspensions and transmissions and all that good stuff. I ended up going to Virginia State, where a lot of my family has graduated from. My dad, did a lot of STEM things in the military, and my uncle was he's also an engineer. My mom's brother. So I knew I wanted to be an engineer, and I kind of figured electrical would be the way, since I always wanted to know how toys and cars, electronics worked. So that's how I got into Virginia State University as an electrical engineer.
Wow, that is amazing. You said something that I think we probably have some degrees of separation here, right? You said Baumholder, Germany. I was
Yes.
stationed in Baumholder, Germany.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not
I
going
didn't
to
even
tell
know
you
you were
when.
military. That's awesome. Are you Army? Are you a Army vet?
I am an army vet, yes.
Thank you for your service.
Well, thank you so much. So I didn't know that about you. So that's awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
And it sounds like you had such a diverse world experience as a child,
Did.
traveling,
Yep.
and you exposure to different things, perhaps, and experiences in school, different schools.
Yep. Yeah. Going to, first living in Kansas, living in Missouri, Germany, Virginia, being around a bunch of military brats my entire life. And then my family is huge too. So we used to travel a lot to visit different family. And I'm the first male child on my dad's side to not go in the military. So my brothers are all military, all my uncles, grandparents, all of their kids. My brother always told me that I was not built for the military. I was built for college. I did try, but they were like, no, you're going to go a different route. I started a different chain. Me and my cousin both went to Virginia State Electrical Engineering.
So thanks for sharing that. But let's dive into the day-to-day aspect of your role to paint a picture for aspiring electrical engineers who want to step into this field. What does a typical day look like for you as an electrical engineer in the aerospace industry?
So within Northrop Grumman, I am a mission assurance engineer. So my main task is to oversee the programs that I support to ensure that we are building our satellites to meet not only our customer requirements, but that they are built with the highest quality to the highest standards, and they meet all the requirements that are given to us by either NASA or the government or whomever we're building satellites for. So every day starts out the same. We have a big morning meeting with our integration and test team where we go over the status of each project that is in build. I basically, report any nonconformances that may have happened over the previous day, any progress that we have made. I follow up with my lead engineers who give us status. Like, we started thermal vacuum testing. I will say if we have any roadblocks or anything holding us up from proceeding with test. Once that's over, I then go into my day to day, which is I support three programs. One, I work with SpaceX on a really big mission for the government, and then I support two Space Force missions. I go over all of our nonconformances, see if I need to consult with any of our engineers to get um, dispositions to either further troubleshoot issues or if we need to close out nonconformances. And then I may proceed into, writing nonconformance reports, which is, gathering data from our integration and test engineers, whether that's mechanical engineers or electrical engineers, thermal engineers. And then I also consult with our receiving and inspection. We get a lot of parts in from different consumers. Sometimes things come in, they may have discrepancies that need to be documented and figure out how we're going to either process them for, whether we're going to fix it ourselves or if we're going to return it to the vendor to have them fix it. Uh, on top of that, I'm a very hands-on guy. My history started as a technician testing our hardware. Then I moved into design engineering. So I know how to debug, I know how to test. I'm an official tour guide for Northrop for our campus. Like I said, I'm hands-on, so I'll go to the floor with my team just to, give them FaceTime. Is there anything that they need from me? Uh, and that can be in the form of we need, documents reviewed, or I need to get some additional, people on the floor to help with issues, or help with get people on the floor to test stuff, or do inspections, whatever that may be. So my day is pretty busy between the three programs. With the SpaceX mission that we're supporting, we have three vehicles on the floor, so they're going through their various motions of test. One of my Space Force programs is completed testing, and we're waiting for a ship date. And my other one, we're in the beginning stages where we're, getting parts, we're generating documents. So that is pretty busy with reviewing documents, making sure we have the right requirements in our documents. We're testing, setting our test procedures to test appropriately, meeting with our different vendors, going through, talking with them to see how their status is going with, building the stuff and getting it delivered to us. So that's pretty much what my day looks like. On top of like all of that, to like if I'm supporting a tour, which is always one of my favorite things. So I love talking about what we're building, the different satellites we build. So that's pretty much what my day to day is about.
That sounds like you're pretty busy. You mentioned basically collaboration across a lot of engineering disciplines to problem solve, figure out what's the problem of the day and how you need to solve it. So you probably brainstorm a lot of solutions and then define the path forward. So you're a pretty busy guy. You mentioned debug test, and it sounded like to me when you first introduced yourself, you mentioned as a child you wanted to figure out how things worked.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that kind of
Yeah.
stemmed from there, probably.
Yeah. So majority of my career, again, I was in the integration and test group. So before the satellite is built, we test circuit card level and unit level. And that's why I did for, I think, 12 years, just testing the satellite in pieces before it's integrated. And after that, then I ended up going into managing a group that I tested in, and then I needed a change. Well, I decided. Well, my whole leadership team, collaborating with me, felt like let's take your skills and put you in a different group. Which I went to design engineering, designing the test sets that I used to use to test the hardware. Design is not. It was good. I learned a lot, but it just wasn't me because I was in an office all day behind a computer all day, and that's just not my thing. So that's when I moved over to mission assurance, where I get a more broad overview, and I get to interact with every single group. From the design engineers to the integration group to the test group. Oh, and I forgot to mention I support launch missions as well. I get to go down to the launch site and be on comms and saying go and no go and all that cool stuff. So I'll be doing my first one here in the next few months.
That sounds exhilarating.
Yes, yes.
So now I'm curious. What are there any specific projects or innovations that you've worked on that are you're particularly proud of?
Of course, yes. So I always talk about our mission that we do to the International Space Station for recargo supply. I was originally hired for that program, and I'm so proud to say that I've supported 23 missions, including our demo mission. And that is so special to me because um, we were one of the first companies to start doing the recargo. And, we get to meet astronauts. We are critical to their survival on the space station. We get to send them supplies. We get to send them different experiments. Like we've done a controlled fire in space. We sent rodents to space. We sent ants, and even they have sent stuff back to us. I have patches that have been on the space station. I've had the privilege of meeting astronauts who've worked in space and talked about how important it was, how grateful they were that we were sending them the food and the clothes and the different experiments. And our Cygnus mission is so important because now that we're, focusing on going to the moon, the habitat that they're going to live on, the astronauts will live on that orbits the moon, is going to be based off of Cygnus. It's to me, it's a really big deal, to be a part of 23 missions and impacting, numerous astronauts. And also I work with a great team. So it's a fun thing to do day in and day out.
Absolutely. That sounds like an amazing mission that you have and all of the efforts that must go into that. It's just amazing. All the
Yeah.
people that work it. And to be
Yeah.
part of that, it's just, oh, wow. It's
Yeah, it's
amazing.
and then when people come in, they get to see them, we got to the point where we could build 2 a year, so it's a really fun task. It's a really fun mission, and I've learned a lot of my knowledge came from working with the Cygnus mission.
So I wonder what do they send back? Do they send back things that they don't want, like trash or?
Yes. So the main purpose, well, there's two main purposes of Cygnus. For one is to give them the supplies they need to survive, and once the astronauts retrieve all of their goodies, they put all their trash in and they release the satellite, and as it enters the Earth's orbit, it burns up. So that way we don't have trash that's floating in space and then it burns up as it comes into orbit.
That is so cool. So
Yeah.
with all of this work, I'm sure that there may be some challenge going or
Yeah.
happening. But
Yes.
what's some of the biggest challenges that you faced in your role, and how you've approached solving them?
So one of the biggest challenges that I've had was on another mission that we had, which is also one of my favorites. We built a mission extension vehicle that extends the life of vehicles while they're in space. And based off of our proven GeoStar 3 platform, there were some major changes. And one of those, during one of the testing, there's a unit called the baseband avionics unit, which controls all the communication on the vehicle. So during that testing, we have a lot of different softwares that have to communicate together, like Windows and Maestro. And then we have Linux machines and all these different operating systems that talk. And sometimes we come into situations where we have like communication issues, or we have, as test equipment gets older, sometimes we run into issues that are hard to troubleshoot or solve. I work closely with my engineers, whether they're the design engineers. I do not like software by any means, but to make myself a better engineer, when we have issues, I work closely with our software engineers, and I want to know what our software is doing, what it's communicating with the test set, and what within the units or the circuit card is talking to that we're testing to make sure it works. So we used to run into a lot of communication issues within our test set. So I believe a couple years ago, I want to say around Christmas time when no one really's at work. I was at work at like 5 o'clock in the morning. I was working a 12-hour shift. We have like a bunch of known issues. So I would ask our engineers, hey, can I try to debug these issues and figure out a workaround? And our lead engineer gave me permission. Hey, go ahead, try. Let me know what you come up with. So I would see where the disconnects were within the software, and I would like put a breakpoint and then go to our different softwares to try to figure out what could be breaking. And I figured out that sometimes where we lose connection between the different systems trying to talk, I would put like, hey, let's put a breakpoint in the software here. Let's go check this. If the connection is broken, reestablish that connection and then try to test again. I was very surprised that it actually worked, and our software engineers and our lead engineers, implemented that into our working test procedures and within our non-conformance reports. So, like, hey, this is what we do at this breakpoint. We try to figure this out, and because it was mainly due to not having enough time to physically correct it within our equipment and our software. So it was just a quick workaround that I was very proud that I figured out and was able to fix.
That's great. So, I mean, you went through some trial and error, right? And
Yes, of
then
course,
figured
yeah,
out what was working, what was not. And then you made some decisions along the way, maybe brainstorm with some of your teammates.
right, yeah.
Awesome. So, can you share an example? I mean, you just did basically, but can you share a particular complex problem that you worked on and how you navigated it?
Yeah, so with Cygnus, we had on one of our units, we had a major supplier issue that did not get caught during our testing at unit level, but when it went to the spacecraft, they started having issues that they were wondering like, hey, was this issue seen during unit level testing? That we're like, no, as one of the lead technicians on the team at the time, like, no, we didn't see this issue of concern. So what I did was they told us what their issue was, and I would work with our design engineers and our software engineers, and come to find out the testing that the spacecraft does is faster than the testing that we did. And what we had to do was create a separate test to test the units faster than what the normal software did. So it was like a separate test. And then they come to figure out that we had the supplier circuit that they gave us, or chip that they gave us, was not capable to do what we needed. So we end up having to make a hardware change, and that basically resolved our issue. And from that point on, we started implementing that extra test to make sure that we did not have those issues going forward.
So that also required, right, brainstorming with suppliers
Yep.
and looking
Yeah,
at
that one
trial
was
and
a
error and
little
so on.
Yeah, that one was a little more detailed because we had to involve like more people like suppliers and design engineers and software engineers, hardware engineers. That one took a longer time to resolve versus me sitting by myself and watching when a test fails and just seeing within our software and our hardware where could we make some simple changes. So hardware changes are more harder to resolve. Get a broader audience, more brains involved, people asking more questions that trigger more questions and trigger more thoughts always helps.
Right. But it must have felt really good when wow, you'd resolved that problem and now you have a path forward. So, yeah, that must be a really uh, exhilarating moment.
Yeah, yeah, nothing like, seeing something break and you work with a team that you're really good with and you guys figure it out together. That's like the best feeling ever. And then you still meet your deadline and you make things better, make them faster. So it's a really good feeling.
Yeah, because I mean, I really think about engineering being a team sport.
It is. No, yeah, you cannot do anything engineer by yourself unless
Right.
you're like a super genius.
But then, even if you're a genius, then you have to communicate whatever it is that you're
True.
thinking too.
It's like you have to document it one way or another. So whether it's verbal
Exactly.
or handwritten.
Absolutely. So now I'm going to ask you to reflect on the personal or external influences that have fueled your STEM journey and what inspired you to pursue a career in STEM. And you kind of talked about what inspired you, but I'm curious about who may have been inspired you. Were there any role models that you had along the way?
Yeah, so my uncle is an engineer and he does stuff with like power systems. He used to work for Alstom Power. They used to make turbines. They got bought by another company now. But he was always my inspiration because he always had like the coolest cars. And I was like, man, engineers drive like the coolest cars. And I want a cool car one day. When I was a kid, he would always come, like, whenever, he would come get me and my cousins. He would pick me up from school in his it was a 1995 300ZX with the T tops. And he would put them in front of the school, and all my friends were like, man, and, like, who is that? Because he believed it. And I'm like, oh, that's my uncle. And I'm like, he has the coolest car. And then eventually he had bought a Mercedes, and, so he always had the coolest cars as a kid. He doesn't have any children. So we were like his kids. He always had like the coolest sound systems in his house. And so I was like, I want that when I grow up. So that was like my inspiration.
That is wonderful. That is
Yeah.
wonderful. So was he also a mentor besides a role model as well? Did he show you the ropes in engineering?
No, he would talk to me. This was, when I was younger, but as I got older, my mentors were usually like teachers that I had. Where I used to have like a math tutor. I mean, not a math tutor. One of my math teachers was my mentor, and then I had a class in middle school where we used to like build stuff, and that teacher was one of my mentors. Would always like give me projects to do and help me with like all my STEM related stuff. Now my uncle was just like the fun uncle that was like show me cool stuff.
Right, right. Everybody has a fun uncle, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That is great. So stepping into the world of electrical engineering, especially in the aerospace, can feel both exciting and overwhelming for those just starting out. But for students and young professionals dreaming about making their mark among the stars, let's just say, right, your journey really has inspired them. With that in mind, what advice would you give the students or young professionals aspiring to enter the field of electrical engineering, specifically in the aerospace industry?
Figure out what you're passionate about and follow your passion and find what you truly want to do because it's very difficult to figure out. I kind of learned that over the way. I realized that I don't like being in an office and I'm hands on. And you can still navigate your career being hands on, but let your passion drive you and not money. Money comes with passion.
Interesting point. Interesting
I've
point.
chased
And then
money.
also happiness, right? Because then you're
Yes,
happy doing what you're doing.
right. Yeah, you have to be. Well, I feel like if you're passionate, then you'll be everything just falls in line with passion. If you're passionate, you'll be happy. Your income will come. You'll get your rewards will continue to flow once you're passionate and you want to do it. Because if you don't want to do it and you're not passionate, you're gonna be miserable. You may not put your best foot forward. That's just what I've learned over my career is just whatever, be passionate and everything will fall in line.
And did you seek out mentors?
I have multiple mentors. The one thing that's always spoken about, at different conferences and things is, find a mentor. People who you go see to talk, they always say, get mentors, get mentors. So I ended up reaching out to like a couple of directors, high up managers. Just ask, would you be willing to be my mentor to help me navigate my career? And I've had some very good ones. I've had mentors for years, and I have male mentors, female mentors, some that are directors, some that are just managers. Excuse me. I have get a wide variety of mentors, and then I have mentors that are not in STEM. I have one of my previous pastors is my mentor, so I make sure I have multiple. They can give me different viewpoints and different aspects of how to navigate life, not just career wise, mentally, anything you think. Like if I used to be big in working out and stuff, and you would want someone that is in that field to help you because that helps with your mental health. So yeah, so I have multiple.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think, you can say the mentors can be your safety net.
They really can.
If you're having a tough day, you can go and talk to any one of them and say, hey, you know, they got your back and they can help you come out of whatever level of distress you're in,
Yeah,
whether it's professionally or personally. So
right,
I think I agree with you that mentors are a key, a component of your life, if you will.
right. Yeah, I just want someone just to, hey, am I losing it? Or, you start a new chapter in your life, and you just want someone to just, hey, hear me out. I don't know how to navigate this. What are your thoughts? What is your advice? Or
Right.
if you're at work and you just want to simple things, like I'm a mentor to multiple, interns and college kids, and a lot of mentors like come into the work field for the first time, and they just have simple questions like about asking about lunch or where to live, simple things like that, to more extreme stuff like I'm having a rough time dealing with this task. Help, what is your advice?
Right. It helps. It helps. Every little bit helps. Other perspectives, then you can make informed decisions about what you're going to do. Not that the mentors will make the decisions for you, but because of their lessons learned or their lives experience, they
Right.
can help you make an informed decision and a better decision for that.
Yeah, and sometimes your mentor may not even have an answer for you, and that's why it's important to have multiple, because if one doesn't have an answer, another one can, or you can take advice from two people and make a educated decision.
So, as a passionate advocate for STEM, you have dedicated yourself to inspiring the next generation of engineers and scientists. You actively engage in various outreach programs aimed at promoting STEM education. How do you see the industry evolving regarding diversity and inclusion concerning electrical engineering?
You know, things have shifted a lot over my 15 and a half years. I remember coming in, there was not many people that looked like me in this field, and it is a really good feeling seeing companies take pride and implement different policies to ensure that everyone is given a chance. I don't think without Northrop, I would not have been afforded the opportunities that I have been afforded, going into leadership roles, attending conferences like BEA, Black Engineer of the Year conference, NESB. And a lot of companies are looking at these different organizations and hiring from a lot of these places. And I personally, from my experience, see that it's just going to get better with all these all these different conferences and all these bigger companies recruiting from there. And north of we have employee resource groups, which are absolutely helpful. I'm in every single one of them, whether it's applicable or not. But you still get to network, you get to meet others, and it's still that finding mentors, finding people who look like you, who can understand you. And I think companies are realizing that having a safe place for employees to be in a group or in a conference with others who can understand your different struggles or share their good times or good experiences can help. So I think it's nothing but it's going to keep going up from here. The world cannot continue without diversity and without being a more inclusive space for everyone.
How are we going to send people to the moon and beyond if
Right,
we're only looking at one aspect of our humanity or our diversity, right?
right.
So important. I think I also agree with you to have that diversity, to bring others along, pull others along, that are for those that are already there.
Yeah,
Make sure that we're making room in the room, making room in the room
yeah.
for others.
It's also inspiring because whether you're a person of color or you're a woman, seeing someone else, like my senior director is a black woman, and from working on my campus, I hear other younger women coming up. They are so inspired to see that because it gives them hope. Like I know that I have greater opportunities, and my mentor, I have my senior mentor is a black man. It's like, geez, I know one day I could be in his shoes. Went from in a organization that wasn't so diverse to thinking like I've plateaued in my career to now the opportunities are endless. Everyone is so supportive about having, other people in leadership roles because you never know what experiences someone who was not afforded the opportunity at first who now are in there, what change they can bring.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely. I think diversity is so important everywhere, not just STEM, but I mean everywhere that we
every
can
field,
bring
of
that
course.
diversity. And so, we bring the perspective and also can help us make the solutions that people can use across all of the diversities that we have. So,
Right.
yeah, yeah. So you've just told me that you have a lot of fun at work.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious about what hobbies or passions help you maintain your balance and creativity in your life.
So I love drones. I have two drones, and I enjoy, when I visit family who live in the country, just flying my drone out. I have a Mavic, which can go really fast and go up to 5 miles away. So taking pictures of places I've never seen before. I'm into remote control cars. I have two and this stuff I got into over COVID that I haven't really been into since I've been a kid. But remote control cars, I now able to get like really, really nice ones that go fast and I can like bash into like trees and jump them and stuff. I love to travel. I mean, as a military brat, it's in my DNA. I love to travel to different places, see different cultures, try different foods. And I'm a big family guy. So as much time as I can spend with my family, I am always there. I'm at everyone, any event anyone is having, I'm doing my best to get there. And I have two young sons, so I want them to, be just as diverse as I was coming up. By the time I started college, been out of the country, been to almost every state in the United States, tried different places, met different cultures. I kind of want them to do the same. So pushing my passions on them, but I'm just using my passions to diversify them, so they won't be too scared to go out and travel and experience the world, because the world is huge. It's limitless to what we can do.
Absolutely. And you're a great role model just by doing what you love, right? By being passionate about what you do.
Yeah,
You're being a great role model so that they in the future can pick up whatever passion they have and kind of pour themselves into it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm a car enthusiast, so I love drag racing. I love NASCAR. Anything about cars, I love. I mean, sometimes I'll just go to a car dealership just to like explore what's in the showroom, just to keep up with the latest technology, read about cars. I watch like YouTube all day. I'm a big YouTube guy. I go to the New York Auto Show every year. I go to the DC Auto Show every year. Me and my buddies that I grew up with. I'm very lucky to have friends from elementary school. We've been friends for 30 years. We all grew up around drag racing. One of my friends' dad has a drag racing team. So we pile up in a car, go to New York for the day. We go to DC for the day. I mean, DC is here by me, but
Hmm.
yeah, we love the New York Auto Show. It's a really good show, and we just sitting there just pick apart cars. Like, oh, this build quality is horrible, but oh my god, look at this. All the latest tech with like EVs and hybrids and cars that are still super sporty, like the GTR, and so yeah,
That sounds like fun. So
it
before
is.
we close, if you could go back and give advice to your younger self starting in engineering, what would that be?
Do not be so hard on yourself. Everything works out, and everything will be what it is meant to be. Let's go with the flow.
Darnell, thank you so much for sharing your journey with the Keys to the Future community.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
And that's a wrap for today's episode. Don't forget to follow Keys to the Future on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts for more inspiring stories and industry insights. Until then, keep innovating and stay curious.